Okay, welcome to Westlaw, courtesy of hundreds of hours of research, learning things the hard way. So welcome to Westlaw Research Training by Noble. Hoping that you learn from my mistakes and get something valuable out of this. And gotta get in there, gotta actually do the work, and you'll find your own little mistakes, and you can pass those on. But hopefully the big ones will catch. I'll give you enough resources to get in there and get really cranking on your open memo assignment. One thing going into this, we're going to let the Westlaw Ferries kind of dictate where we go. But going into this, I want to say and really emphasize, you have to do it. Okay, you have to get in here and try these things out and play around and spend a lot of time, whether it's Westlaw, whether it's Lexis. If you want to try the law library, you can. I'll reserve my opinion for that approach for another day. But whichever you use or any combination, you have to do the work. You're not going to get it from me just telling you, oh, here are some terms and connectors, okay? So I actually do the work. I have a few notes we're going to kind of follow generally. But again, the Westlaw Ferries will take us through. So let us sign in. And many of you are asking Royal Films, what is that? None yet. Okay, here we go. So the first thing we've got to do before we even get on to Westlaw is we have to have our facts down cold for our case. Okay, let's go back. We got to go back to the beginning here. We have to have our facts down cold. We have to know what jurisdiction we are in. That's one of the first things I'm going to ask, and what level, right? So are we in trial court? Are we in state court? Are we in federal court? Okay, if we are in state court, I have to then go and figure out, but especially if it's a state court I don't know, like Ohio, for example, I have to go and do research to figure out whether or not an appellate court that's split into districts, a system, what their appellate system is, like in Ohio, split into districts. So if it's a 6-district state court, appellate court of Ohio, is that binding on trial courts that fall in the 5th district? I gotta go look at those kinds of things like early on before I can really even get into researching actual legal issues. I will tell you that I did look that up, and unless there's a circuit split, and just forget that, don't worry about it. All Ohio appellate courts are going to be binding on the all Ohio trial courts, so don't worry about that. Just treat it just like Alabama. So now, in the very, very rare event that you somehow end up doing some sort of law in Ohio in the next 50 years or so, you know how the appellate system works. Okay, so got to know all the facts. There's some critical facts that we would definitely want here in this case. We've been asked to look at personal jurisdiction, right? What did the defendant get served in the state? We don't have that, so we don't deal with it, okay? Because we would certainly ask that, but it's not part of our problem, obviously. You want to know what procedural stage you're in the case. Has the lawsuit been filed? If so, better not answer. Better not answer. You might waive personal jurisdiction. Okay, might waive that argument. And that might dictate some of the research that you're going to be doing. Hey, for real life, and not so much for LLR, but for real life, you want to know who the judge is. That's probably the second question I ask if a case is filed. What state court, federal court, and then who's the judge? Okay, because that's going to make a big difference to me in terms of how I approach the case. Okay, and how I do some research. I know Judge Smith really likes Judge Jones, and so I might go look for Judge Jones' opinions, even if they're trial court opinions. That would be helpful for me. Okay, so really got to know all the facts and the background. Kind of know it cold before you go into the research. Otherwise, you may not recognize little gems here and there. Okay, so that's step one. Got to know what you're doing. Step two is you actually have to have a plan. Okay, some sort of a plan. I'll give you my plan, how I would approach this, whether I was a litigator in this case for case file 3, or whether I was the judge's clerk. How I would go about doing it, you feel free to do your thing. Okay, but before I give you my plan, I want to give you lots and lots of warnings. Here's what happens. Okay, if you're doing it right, you're going to spend a lot of time reading cases, and reading statutes and reading secondary sources, all this, and then you're going to be you're going to be going, oh, where was that? Oh, when you start sitting down trying to write, where was that? I don't know where that was. Or you'll have 4 cases. Maybe you like to print. Okay, you'll have 4 cases printed out, and you won't know what they're for. And you will have spent all this time. You'll end up researching to find your research. Okay, but so what we have to do, even though it's tedious, we have to get very organized before we really go in with our plan. And organization is ongoing as we learn the law and learn the little nuances and the elements and the sub-elements. But we get organized first, and even though it's tedious, we make little notes and we do little highlights, and we tell ourselves later, it's like we are going to communicate, we are sending messages to our future frustrated 1L self. I'm going to send notes in the future. I'm time traveling to my 1L self 4 days from now, who has then spent 40 more hours on this and does not know why on earth this case is here. I have to have it organized in the right spot and have the right notes so I can tell future Brian, here's how you use this or don't. Okay, so I'm going to walk through all that with you. Okay, let me just go ahead and tell you right now. Let me save you from yourself. As you do your research, some of you will go ahead and kind of write your memo alongside it. Okay, there's lots of approaches to that. Okay, and you know your learning style and kind of your writing style. I would recommend really making sure you understand the law and you have it ready to go before you get in there. Maybe you haven't done your analysis yet, but you get your law kind of down before you actually start writing. But you do you. But here's the thing: you start writing, and then you use id. No. Do not use id until you are almost done, until you are in the editing phase. Because here's what happens. All right, you end up changing your paper around, as you should. You should wrestle with it. You should ponder it. You should sit on a bench with the rain coming down, thinking about whether you organized it right, and whether you should do all that. Okay, it should really be your baby. Okay, and because of that, you're gonna wake up in the middle of the night, probably. I hope not, but probably. Hopefully it's not in the middle of the night. Maybe it's when you're in traffic or something, stopped at a red light. But you're gonna think, oh, I need to move that, and you're gonna move something, and you're gonna move the id with it, and the id then no longer cites back to the correct case, and you will have no idea where that case is probably, because you better be using a lot of cases in this memo. Okay, and you will end up researching for your research again. And if you did not quote in there, good luck. Good luck. That's 2 or 3 hours. And I bet you some of the other professors are like me, where I will actually go in and look. If you put an id, there's a good chance, especially if you're saying some weird stuff I don't see a lot, or in your case illustrations, I will go in and look to see if that id is correct. Does it take me to the right page? I have no life. I will go look at your cases you use in this open memo. And if you have id and the proposition of law is not supported because you move things around by that case that id refers to, that's not good. Okay, you've misled the court. Okay, or your partner in this case, whoever it is you're working for. So do not use id. Okay, I'm not saying don't use id in the final. Don't use it while you're drafting this. Okay, all right. Other ways as things to help you when you start kind of getting in the pile, needle haystack stuff. Remember, you have history. Okay, so you'll be able to go over here and find maybe what it is you were looking for. Another thing, this is the litigator researcher's #1 tool. It's not Westlaw, it's not Lexis, it's not Bloomberg. It is open and new tab. See this? Look, open and new tab. And then I didn't get lost. Okay, then I didn't get lost. That helps you a ton. Okay, open and now you don't want a million of them unless you have a Chrome extension thing or something that helps you organize. But open and new tab. That is your new #1 tool. Okay, all right. So another thing that helps you not get lost is, let's go into my history real quick and let's just go and look. I want you to see. I want you to see the glasses. So we're going to go into a table of contents. I'll show you how to do all this in a minute. Okay. So I clicked on background right there. Okay, let's see if the glasses will show for us here. Okay. All right, let's go click on a case before we get lost too far down. Again, we're letting the fairies take us here, the Westlaw fairies. We want a case. Here's a case. Okay. All right, now the case has been cited by 5 cases. All right, don't worry about, I'm just trying to show you the glasses right now, okay, which is going to show you whether you've read something or not. Don't worry about following exactly what I'm doing, okay. So, all right, so here's a case, citing that case. I'm going to click on that case. Okay. All right, we're going to go back. And I want you to see this. This is very, very important. See these glasses? That shows me I've read that case. Okay, so that's another way when you're needle in the haystack, if you have problems, and like, have I seen that case before? There it is. So you have your history, you have your folder organization, as we're going to show you in a minute, and then you have your glasses. Okay, I've seen that before when you get into searches. By the time you are done, you should be seeing a whole lot of glasses. Okay. All right, so our research strategy, now that we've talked about how to save ourselves, and I'm going to show you actually how to do it, but we've talked about how to make sure we stay organized and don't get too confused and lost as we do our research. And we know our facts. We know we're in an Ohio trial court now. I'm not going to do this for you, okay, but I'm going to show you kind of how to go about doing some of this research, okay? Now, we have an interesting problem because we're dealing with personal jurisdiction, which means we look at a state long-arm statute, which is state, okay, state law, and then we look at obviously federal due process requirements, which you should be learning in civil procedure, okay. So then we have this kind of crossover effect. So you're going to have cases where there's state law and federal law coming in, and that can be kind of confusing to you as to, obviously, federal law is going to trump state law, but what's the relevance and how is state law used with federal law? And how would I approach that at first, at least, as whether I clerk for a judge, and I did, whether I was clerking for a judge in a case like this, or a litigator, okay, I would go to Ohio, and I would stick with what Ohio laws are and what the Ohio cases say, and I'd pay attention, the appellate court cases, okay, in Ohio, and I'd pay attention to how they organize their, what purport to be objective memorandums that are memorandum opinions and orders that are what these cases are, how they organize them and how they use the state and the federal law. Eventually, you might pop over to the Sixth Circuit and maybe a persuasive law district court case, that kind of thing. But I would start with learning what Ohio law is and then working my way to Ohio cases and paying attention to their organization as they talk about personal jurisdiction and how they use the cases, both federal and state. All right, so like everything else in LLR, we work from big to small. Okay, just like the eye exam, right? We start big and blurry and we get sharper and sharper and sharper down, or the nesting doll. We go down, 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 and then we come back up, okay? And research is no different, okay? So our strategy, how do we go about learning and finding the law and learning it here, okay? So my strategy, I just told you I'd stick with Ohio at first, at least at first. Okay, and the larger resources where you actually get the black letter law, the explanation of the law. What is the law? Okay, you're going to find those in secondary sources. All right, some secondary, not all secondary sources are created equal. Okay, I can get on a blog and write what I think about personal jurisdiction, and that's, you know, secondary authority. And I suppose you could cite it in your memo. You know, it's not that helpful. Black's Law Dictionary, for example, is not that helpful. A law review is not that helpful. But there are some that are helpful. How do we find them? How do we find them? And we want state materials, right? Because our strategy, my strategy is going Ohio law first. Okay, how does Ohio handle this? So I'm going to start with states. I'm going to come down here. Okay, so check me out. Here I am. Oh, by the way, there's some sort of Westlaw's rolled out its latest and greatest stuff, but you know, you can figure out what that is another day. We're going to stick with the basics, okay? State materials. See, so we've got all this different content. There's many ways to get to different things. Okay, we're going to start with state materials. Okay, now I don't know anything about Ohio. All right, I went to a Bengals game one time. All right, and they lost. That's the only thing I know really about Ohio is that the Bengals lost that one time that I went to the game. So I want to learn everything about Ohio and its laws. Okay, all right. So I click on Ohio. Did you see that? I just went. All right, just went and clicked on the state. And so now it unfolds for me all of the different resources available for the state here on Westlaw, which is almost everything, okay? Here is an entire law library of stuff for Ohio, okay? So what did I find right here? Because we have all these things, you know, we have key numbers, and we'll talk about that. And trial court orders, usually not that helpful. Persuasive only. It depends on who the judge is, right? Alabama trial court orders usually don't even explain themselves. So maybe Ohio's different. I don't know. You might look at that. I wouldn't worry about it. And statutes might be important for this case. Okay, but we want to just, someone tell us what the law is. It's pretty, we're not trying to figure out what the body of law we even need to look at is. We know it's personal jurisdiction, okay? So that's simple enough. Maybe the law is not simple, but finding, you know, the the section of it perhaps is simple. Okay, so we want to go to secondary sources, and there it is. So there's all kinds of other stuff, folks. You see all kinds of good stuff, but we want secondary sources. That's going to tell us what the law is. All those classes you're going to right now as a 1L, and you're like, what is the law? What is that? Nobody's telling me what the law is. Not all of you, but plenty of you. All right. The remedy to that is a secondary source. Okay, and again, not all are created equal. So I could open a new tab. Okay. Because I still want to know where I'm at. I want to get lost. I want to know I'm in secondary sources over here. So I open a new tab, and what this is going to do is it's going to search all these Ohio secondary sources, okay? And I can use terms and connectors here, very basic ones you know from Googling, okay? And we'll get into some other ones as well later. Terms and connectors are important, okay? They really will help you. They will keep you from many of the 2 a.m. nights of research if you end up the kind of place that does a lot of legal research, okay? They won't necessarily keep you from that. I can speak to that from experience, but they can, okay? All right, so we can use terms and connectors to just search all of the Ohio secondary sources. So let's do that. We know there's a long arm statute, right? So let's just do a simple personal jurisdiction. Okay, and I think some of this, how it's auto-populating, right, is some of the new features of Westlaw. Okay, it's starting to get more Google friendly. Let's go personal jurisdiction in the same paragraph as. See, so I did just like Google, right? I did personal. Now it's not all like Google, but this part is. All right, I did personal jurisdiction. So in quotations. Okay, so I'm not getting personal problems. Okay, or I'm not just getting personal property, or it has to say, or I'm not getting criminal jurisdiction. It has to say personal jurisdiction, or I'm not going to get it. Okay, and then the /P means in the same paragraph as. Okay, and I'll show you the terms and connectors sheet, at least one of them. There are some sneaky ones that they don't list. Okay, personal jurisdiction, same paragraph as long arm, because we know there's a long arm statute. Okay, okay, so this is going to get for us, it'll change this to a little advanced, because technically if you want to be super on top of it, you put advanced there, okay, which is a no. I don't trust that. I do not trust that little advanced thing I'm circling right there. I've seen where it's better than nothing. We can look at that in a little bit, but terms and connectors are superior. Okay, personal jurisdiction in the same paragraph as long arm. So I'm searching because I went to Ohio, and then I went to Ohio secondary sources. I opened a new tab. All right, so all I did was click on all Ohio secondary sources. All right, and now I'm about to search all of these secondary sources. So we're going to funnel down, okay, for personal jurisdiction in the same paragraph as long arm. Okay, so we're going to get something that's discussing the long arm statute. Okay, that's just one of many ways you could go about narrowing down. First go. Okay, so all the secondary sources, boom, search. All right, it's going to narrow that down a good bit. Okay, and look, folks, there are terms and connectors are amazing. I could do this. I'm getting on the side, but I do this right here. I'm not going to actually search, but now it has to be in the title of the document, right? So there's so many ways to narrow with the terms and connectors, but you're not going to just learn it overnight. It's not. It's some algebra type stuff. Okay. All right. So now I have 171 results. Yeah, it depends on how much my client's willing to pay. I might look at all those. Okay. I'll take a look at the different types. You know, that's Ohio Civil Practice. What I can do is come over to the publication type. Okay. And I can filter that way. I don't want law reviews or journal. No, unless I represent Elon Musk and we are trying to do with some novel nuanced issue of jurisdiction on Mars. I don't care about law reviews and journals. Legal newspapers and newsletters, no. All right, so we're going to narrow it to text and treatises. Text and treatises, okay? What about date? Nah. What about jurisdiction? Oh, here we go. We're going to take 60 away right there just by going to Ohio because we're not worried about national right now, okay? Because our strategy is to go to Ohio. Okay. Well, that's a nice little new feature. You can see what you've viewed in the last 30 days. That's new to me. Okay, so I'm going to hit apply. Now check it out. I got 171. And now I'm going to narrow it down to what? 110. That's better than 171, okay? Now we could also search within the results, and we could search for internet. Narrow that down to some case that has something to do with the internet, okay? All right, so let's do this search. Messing with me for some reason. Hang on. So we're going to search within the results. All right, so we don't need the quotations is what it's telling me there because it's just one word. Okay, internet. So we went down from 110 surely they don't all talk about internet. They all talk about internet. Alright, let's get more specific then. Internet and, alright, so you got to have both when you do this. And we're going to do minimum contacts. Okay, got to have both. Oh, there we go, apply. Sorry, they've moved some things around on me. So we're down to 6, folks. We're down to 6. So we want to take a look at this, okay? We definitely want to take a look. If we're interested in a case that deals with personal jurisdiction and the internet, all right? We want to take a look. So let us, remember how we got here, okay? All we did was go over to state resources, to Ohio. We searched all secondary sources and we narrowed it down. We didn't have to narrow it down to 6. We could have scrolled through the 110 or so and you know, dealt with, you know, filtered what we thought was good there. And you might, you know, I'd probably do that. Okay, I'm just showing you the different ways, different levels we can take it to. Okay, so Ohio Jurisprudence 3rd edition. We could actually come over here and narrow it down even more if we wanted. We could go with the publication name. So there's Ohio Jurisprudence 5, Baldwin, Ohio Practice Publications 1. So let's click Ohio Jurisprudence, apply, which they moved on me, and now we know it's there, apply. And now we're down to 5. Okay, Ohio Jurisprudence 3rd edition. And we got all this talk about minimum contacts. Okay, so now let's use our #1 tool as researchers. Open a new tab. Open a new tab. Okay, check this out. All right, so we are in a secondary source. Here's where we are. We can look at the table of contents. Let's look at the table of contents. Table of contents is a really good thing for law, so you can figure out where on earth am I even at. Okay, let me show you your second most important. No, it's not. Is it not telling us where we're at? It usually does. Expand it out. Okay, I wouldn't call this the second most important. I call this the third most important. It's the back button. Okay. Most important research tool. Second most important is Control F. So we're under jurisdiction. We're under personal jurisdiction. So X right here. So if we want to open a new tab, jurisdiction. Oh, it's not going to do it for us, so we're going to have to use our back. Jurisdiction. Okay. Personal jurisdiction. All right. Research reference in general. General principles. Okay, that's 258. all right, and so we're on 259, and if we want to move back and forth, all right, there is a little, we don't want to go through the different terms, we want to actually get into this. Let's try reading mode. Here we go. All right. So we're in a secondary source. This is the equivalent of just picking this up off the shelf, finding generally. We're looking at personal jurisdiction generally, okay? Ohio uses a two-step analysis to determine when it may exercise personal jurisdiction over a foreign defendant. Wow, I'm learning the law already, okay? I'm learning the law. And let me tell you what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to do it for you, but what I would do now is I'm going to learn all about personal jurisdiction using this secondary source, and then I'm going to probably use maybe another to the point where I really get it, or if I don't get it, I'm certainly going to know that I don't after I read these different cases. All right, it's giving me all these cases, so I get to follow this trail. Something else that's kind of really important right here. Well, first, do I want to lose this, or maybe I want to keep it? Maybe I want to keep this, because it looks pretty important to me. All right, so let us use some of our little tools we have here. So this is the equivalent. If you're a printer person, you might have highlights, you might write notes, that kind of thing. This is the electronic equivalent, okay? So I want to save this to some sort of folder, all right? Now, I've already created a number of folders that would be relevant here. I certainly do not steal from them because there's all kinds of different ways to do it. But I want to save this to a folder. All right. You know what? Let's do this real quick. Let's do this. Let's open a new tab. All right, that one's not going to work for us. We want to do one that will work for us. Open a new tab. This one will work. So we're not lost. We know we search secondary sources, then we search within our secondary sources to this Ohio jurisprudence, and now we're reading about how the Ohio long-arm statute works, okay? And we're curious about how federal works. Guess what one of the first cases? Oh, it's Southern District of Ohio, so we can read that, and we'll see how federal's working with it. We also have the United States Constitution, and what is that? That looks like maybe a statute. That could be really important, okay? Really important, so we're going to check that out in a minute. But okay, so let's go to our folders. I think you learned how to do this, but let's just make sure. All right, this is part of getting organized, and it's ongoing. As you learn the law, you're going to add more stuff to your folders, okay? Let's start a folder. Let's call it Awesome versus Sauce. Okay, Sauce. All right, here we go. Awesome versus Sauce folder. All right, there we go. Awesome versus Sauce. All right, so we can save cases into that folder. Let's say we already know that it's going to break down into a bunch of different elements and sub-elements. I'm not telling you that it breaks down into these different elements and sub-elements, okay? I'm just telling you it would break down into some. So let's go ahead and create subfolders under there. See, now check it out how I have that selected, Awesome versus Sauce. Now I'm going to maybe long arm statute. Check it out how that says statute and not statue. That's good stuff, okay? All right, so now I've created a folder under long arm statute. Or I've created a long arm statute folder to save things in. All right, so let us also create maybe a federal due process folder. Do not copy me as if this is the way to do it, okay? Definitely don't do Awesome versus Sauce. I'm just showing you one way I might approach, okay? What about even under the long arm statute? What if I wanted to add a folder that said good cases for illustrations? Okay. And what if under there I wanted to say affirmative, or how about this? Yes, PJ. That's even better, isn't it? Yeah, okay. And then no, PJ. All right, so cases I might want to save and collect for that show yes, PJ, there is personal jurisdiction, no, there's no personal jurisdiction. What about federal due process? Maybe I'll add a folder that says, I don't know, like minimum contacts. Okay, so I'm adding this little folder under here, under Awesome versus Sauce. Okay, and then, you know, what? There's stuff I could add under there, right? What about if I wanted to add, I don't know, fairness maybe? Life's too perfect to be fair, by the way, people. Okay, so fairness. Okay, so add that in there. What if I want to come into fairness and say a new folder? And look, this is really how organized you get. And you build it as you go, because if you don't know the law, you don't know what exactly to organize it in, okay? It's worth it so that you don't spend hours trying to figure out where that case was or why you have this case in front of you. Okay, so what if I put black letter law, the RE, rules and rules explanations. Okay, black letter law for fairness. Boom, that's going to be some U.S. Supreme Court stuff right there, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Lots of ways to organize this, okay? And now once I've done that, it's going to populate for me over in my research, okay? So let me refresh this. And so I've done some organization now. I've got my folder set up. And I want to definitely keep this. This looks very interesting, okay? It's going to tell me about personal jurisdiction in Ohio. I want to save it to a folder. I'm going to go ahead and save it to awesome sauce in general, because it's telling me everything in general, right? So in general, awesome sauce, all right? And let's say, just like if I had it printed out, I would make a little note, and I might have like a color coding system. I did actually when I was in school and doing research regularly for highlights, okay? But I might have a note color coding system, but regardless, I'll make a note right up here, and I'll say, really good for understanding PJ. Remember, I'm telling myself I'm time traveling right now. I'm writing a note to future Brian. I'm saying, hey, future Brian, when you're frustrated and you're ruminating and you're wondering what to use or why this was important or where this is, here's a note that I'm leaving for you, okay? That's very, very, very important, all right? Let's say you have color coding down. I'm not going to do all this for you. Nothing. I'm just random, folks. None of this is of any significance to your problem. If it is, it's incidental, okay? But let's say that I have color coding. It says something that is facts is green, so I can highlight that, okay? What if procedural posture in a case I've decided is pink, okay? So I can highlight that. All right, and I can make little notes out here. How about this is some trial court opinion, and I go wrong. They got it wrong, but it hadn't been appealed, and that happens. And sometimes you end up quoting bad law because you hadn't done enough research because it doesn't get appealed. All right, some trial court opinions can be dangerous for that reason in state court, especially. All right, but the P will likely try and use this argument. Okay, boom, save with that little note. I made a note for myself, all right? I can copy all this if I want, if that's important, paste it up here with the note that I made right here. Okay, check this out. That's one of my favorite features, especially for when I'm just trying to get the black letter law. Where's some black letter law? Ohio uses a two-step analysis to determine when it may exercise personal jurisdiction over a foreign defendant. Man, if that isn't some black letter law, okay? I don't have to save this whole thing, although I would. I can just save this language. Look, I'm about to save the language to, and that will go under just, it's big. This is roadmap type stuff, right? Maybe. It might be your first. Depends on how you organize. It could be under your first section. So you could do it under Awesome versus Sauce, or you might. I would probably end up doing under Long Arm Statute. But, you can decide. But anyway, it's going to save that language alone in the case. Okay? So this is how you're getting, or you're saving these cases, or you're saving these secondary sources, all right? And you're telling yourself in the future why it's important. Okay, so we've got in here, and we're learning stuff now. We're going to do a lot of reading in getting the black letter law and understanding, okay, from secondary sources. All right, let's close that out. Let's remember how we got there. We just clicked on state resources. We searched all secondary sources. Look at what we're looking at too, by the way. Ohio Jurisprudence, 3rd edition. We narrowed it down to that. Well, there it is. Okay, there it is. So we could just pick that up off the shelf electronically if we want. Okay, and then so we searched it down and we got in here. Okay, and if we just want to read through, we click reading mode, and check this out. You're just reading through the thing, and the page will populate as you go down. Okay, new page, it'll populate. This is the electronic equivalent of flipping pages. Okay, and then your very important back button. All right, you review the table of contents. So that's how we start. For my strategy, I start with secondary sources. If I start reading this and I go read all through it, I'm going to learn the law of of personal jurisdiction by Ohio courts. I'm going to run into the federal laws as I do that. Now, I do want to point out something that's interesting, okay, that you might be interested in. Also, check out how long arm is spelled there. It has a little hyphen in the middle. That will affect our terms and connectors if we're not careful, or it could at least. So remember, there are different ways to go about it. You could do long arm that way, and long arm one word, and long arm two words. Okay, keep that in mind. All right, look at this. Ohio's long arm statute. Okay, open a new tab. Is it going to do it for us on this one? Yes, it is. All right, so what that does is when you click on this little 3, it takes you down to the 3. All right, this is actually really helpful for very lengthy documents. You click on 3, it takes you back up to 3. Okay, it gives us the statute. There's a statute. There's also a rules of procedure. Okay, there's a statute. You think that's important? You think that's important? Very important? Yeah, enough that I've come through and made notes and stuff? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to save that. Okay, and look at what we're going to do now that we found a statute. That's big, folks. Statute's big. All right, definitely want to see that. Look at that. Okay, it's bigger than case law. Okay, state case law. All right, so we have over here, let's never ignore this stuff that I'm highlighting over here. Notes of decisions, all right, that is going to be organized list. Westlaw attorneys, folks who've gone, who are big geeks like me, who sit around and read these cases and write and organize them and write little summaries of them and write head notes and whatnot. So here is a list of all the notes of decision that have dealt with this statute, okay? It's not all of them, folks. It's not even close to all of them, but it is areas that get you going. Okay, so you're interested in due process or internet business activities. Let's click on 20, or long arm restricted to statute, or all kinds of minimum contact journal. Look, gold mine, gold. All right. So let's click down to 20. It's going to give us the cases. All right. So here's 20. All right. It's doing that thing where it says go see this fun legal thing. Go see doing business in Ohio. So let's click on that. Oh, here it is. All right, so these cases discuss what it is that we're doing business in Ohio, okay? And so we hop on these cases and get on the case law trail that way, okay? So that's what we can do with the statute and the notes of decision. So they're organized. And what happens is these head notes, I'll show you in a little bit, we can end up using those head notes to find more cases. See this little key system? It's very clever. It's like Dewey Decimal, all right? Came along and decided that he was going to take some Dewey Decimal Red Bull and come up with a really, really organized system where you could come through and find cases throughout all jurisdictions under this little West keynote system, all right? All right, so here we go. We got it organized with cases. That's one thing you got under a statute, okay? So let's go back to the statute. Remember, we always remember where we're at, okay? We're in a statute. All right, so now you can look at history and check that out, but citing references. This is really helpful. So we have 1,058 cases that cite this statute. So probably most, if not all of those cases, are personal jurisdiction cases. Okay, that's interesting. Look, we also have things like appellate court documents and trial court documents. Those are going to be briefs and motions and some orders. But think about briefs and motions that attorneys have written, real attorneys have written about personal jurisdiction. Let's just open that in a new tab. Okay, let's look. Let's just look. We want to get it recent, where attorneys have written and synthesized rules and briefs and cases. All right, so let us look, folks. You see the glasses? That means I've looked at that. Okay, it means I've looked at that. Okay, we can always remember down here on the left, we can nail it, or we can narrow things down all kinds of different ways. Let's go with briefs. We just want briefs and not petitions or filings, okay? All right, and we're looking for recent briefs. This is just one of many ways, folks, to find, and you can go down the rabbit hole, okay? But we're still staying broad. We know where we are. Our new tabs told us. All right, so let's just scroll down here. Look, brief of plaintiff appellants, 2017. That's pretty recent. Okay. Now let me show you, if I haven't already, the #2 most important research tool that you have as a lawyer is Control F. Okay, Control F, and we're going to search for long arm That'll probably get us somewhere. And we can get in here and start reading, all right, and maybe we might even do it that way. We might do it that way. All right, let's get in here and do personal. All right, look at all there's 38, okay? And we can read these briefs, and we can get in here and look. This is 2017 actual attorneys now. Okay, don't go copying and pasting. All right, folks, do your own work. But what they had to say, look at all the little yellow down here. Probably somewhere down here is where the meat, where they have the case law. There's the facts. Okay, so let's move to the law. All right. Like I tell my students all the time, and tell you all the time, it's all about facts. We don't even get to law until way down here. But here we go. Personal jurisdiction is a question of law that appellate courts review, yada, yada. And here we go. And we're going to talk about specific jurisdiction. Oh, wow. Okay, let's say I like this. I like this. I want to look at it later. I think it's pretty relevant. It might come in and help me wordsmith a little bit or help me realize where I need to elaborate. So let's go ahead and save this under awesome sauce in general. Just that language right there, okay? And then we can actually, let's say, we wanted to make a note. You know, it's a purple note because we've decided specific jurisdiction is purple and general jurisdiction is orange or whatever, okay? Discusses main point here. Boom, okay? And we have saved it, all right? And it's there forever. Look, when we make these notes, they're there forever. They're like McDonald's cheeseburgers. You know, they're not going away, all right? They're there forever. So you do not have to worry about losing your little sheet of paper that you printed out or the highlight fading or your dog eating your homework or whatever. Okay, so that was briefs. We just came from a statute, okay? We came from a statute over to briefs, okay? So now we're back at the statute. We don't need it twice. So the secondary source took us to the statute. All right, so look at all the citing references. Let's go open a new tab with the cases, okay? Now what we can do is narrow down the cases, all right? So we come up here to the left. We can search within, so if we wanted to do internet or something very specific to our case, which is more where we're looking for rule illustrations, but we want to search within, that's okay. I use that a lot to narrow things down. We are in cases already. All right, so what about jurisdiction? What if we only want to look at state cases right now? Yeah, and what if we only want to look at Ohio cases? Ooh. Do you see? Do you see? Because other courts have cited this statute. What if we don't want to look at any federal? Okay, we only want to look at, that narrows us down 383 right there. Okay, what if we only want to look at cases within the last 3 years? All right, directly cited, yes. Okay, now let's apply. Now let's look at how many we have up here. Okay, we started with 1,058. All right, because we went with just cases. All right, let's apply. We've narrowed it down. Cases that are going to matter to us, and let's see how many we get. 11. You think it's worth reading those 11? You bet it is. All right. If we narrowed it down in a way that's relevant to our case, we're going to read them. All right. And then we're going to go through and we're going to make our little notes. We're going to save them. All right. The synopsis will help. We'll never cite head notes, but we will look at them. All right. Now let me show you how we navigate. We just look. There's our 11 results, and we just hit next. Go on to the next one. If we don't like that one, you can also Control F to go for where into this this opinion exactly where you want to go. When I look at an opinion, first thing I'm looking at is what court it's in. Okay, Court of Appeals of Ohio. That's going to bind my judge in my case. Okay, and what year it is. All right, and then I'm looking obviously at the substance of the opinion. Okay, and keeping in mind that all of this, none of this is law. Westlaw attorney drafted, but it's helpful. Look at these key systems. Okay, let's see. The little West key system, all right? So what we've done is we went to the statute, okay, and then we went to the cases, citing statute. We narrowed that down to some cases based on things that we thought were about the last 3 years. There's all kinds of ways to do it, folks. And now we're looking for a key that deals with personal jurisdiction. Do we see it? No, we don't see one in there. Well, hang on. Well, let's use our Control F. All right, so let's look and see if one of these head notes. Appeal and error. Okay, so here's where personal jurisdiction would be under appeal and error. That would be something worth looking at. You might find personal jurisdiction under all kinds of things in the key system, like pretrial procedure, for example. Lots of different ways to go about doing that. But let's just go ahead, and we're going a little further down the rabbit hole. Control F, or open a new tab. Okay, we open a new tab. Now we're searching these little keys, which are geniusly made up. Look, it shows you pretrial procedure, dismissal, involuntary dismissal. This is way down you are. Okay, and again, you can narrow the jurisdiction. Ohio, you only want the Ohio Supreme Court, for example. Okay, apply. You've just narrowed. Now, I know it's a lot of tools I'm giving you, folks. All right, I'm just exposing you. Okay, you don't have to use them all, but this is one way to go about the key number system. Let me just get off on the tangent real quick and show you another way. Key numbers, right? So what did I do? I went back to the home page. Went to the home page. If you want to search key numbers, which is just like basically flipping open a table of contents. All right, so you might come in here, and you got to think about different ways. First, you can try personal, but it's not going to pop. So what would personal jurisdiction be under? And you figure out what it's under by reading these cases, okay, folks? And you can just search direct from them. All right, but if you want to try it this way, well, personal jurisdiction is civil procedure, right? Is that in there? Civil rights. I don't even see where that civil is. Let's type civil procedure. Is that in there? Federal civil procedure, boom. Okay, so we could search that, and we could search other things, and then we search in there personal jurisdiction, all right, and it's going to come back with a bunch of stuff, and we filter it down as we want. Okay, it's coming back with all these different places where, and we could filter down with the jurisdiction, all these different cases and head notes. See where personal jurisdiction pops. Okay, so that's one way to go about it. All right, so just that's our head note talk. I actually don't do a ton of head note stuff. I think it's really interesting. If I'm doing state law, I'll grab a digest though. But I think this Ohio jurisprudence will get it for now. All right, so here are, remember where we were? We were secondary sources. All right, and then we narrowed that down to this nice little, it's just the beginning. We're going to do a lot more reading in the secondary source. This nice little introduction to Ohio uses a two-step analysis to determine when to exercise personal jurisdiction. Wow, I'm on the money, okay? And then we grabbed a statute from there, and that's where we're at, okay? We just went into the cases, and we're looking at the cases that cited. We narrowed that down, and then we went into the keynotes from this case, okay? But now let's just continue. We're reading the cases, we're organizing them, we're thinking about where they go, we're learning the law, we're paying attention to how the court organizes its opinions here, especially the more recent ones. Some of the older cases are terrible, but look at this one. This was 2018. So probably a decent clerk up at the Court of Appeals of Ohio, whoever drafted this, with, I'm sure the judge helped. Probably decent writer, good organization. So we're looking contracts. Hey, contracts, that may be another thing to look at, okay? And so we're paying attention to how they organize, how they use the interplay of federal and state law here. All those different things, paying attention to the year, paying attention to what court, and we're making notes, and we're saving to our folder system. If you want to be the person who prints all this out and highlights and all that, that's fine. If you need that physical interaction with the paper, that's fine, but just make sure you are organizing. You are talking to your future self, so you do not get lost, and do not use id, by the way. Again, I'm telling you, I'm reminding you, do not use id until the very end when you're editing, and then use id. Also, just as a reminder, there's no e after that G in judgment. Okay. All right, so we've done all these cases, we've looked, and we've narrowed it. So let's go back to our statute. Then we have all these things that's cited. All right, and I showed you where you can grab attorneys' briefs where they talk about this statute. You can get trial court orders, and we narrowed all the cases down. All these different things that we get that pertain just to this statute that's important, okay? That it's an important statute, okay? Maybe. All right, so then what about context and analysis? So this is more stuff. This is where you get in your secondary sources, more stuff that talks about this statute, okay? So if you want to get into like an ALR, for example, I never get anywhere near law review and journal commentaries. U.S. Supreme Court be interesting. You don't need encyclopedias or forms. ALR might be helpful. Treatises and practice aids is the most useful. Okay, so this is where you might find more treatises that talk, and remember, you can come down here and start narrowing down, folks. Play with it. Play with how you can narrow, okay? And then here are the different treatises, and you can search. You can search within these too, okay? but the different treatises that address that statute. Okay, and in the different sections. Some of them are the same treatise, obviously. All right, and then you go through and you start learning the same stuff over and over and over again. Okay, until you've seen it enough. We're just talking learning the black letter here, just learning what all the rules are, and that's going to inform your organization. You're going to keep going back and getting organized. All right, reading it over and over and over again, and that's just part of the game. Okay. All right, so we've gone from secondary sources. We've gone from big secondary sources to smaller, okay, all the way down into key numbers, all the way down into cases. All right, now let's actually start looking at cases. So we found our little statute. All right, so let's go back to our statute, go back to the document, okay, and we want citing references. We're going to go back to cases. Okay, look, every case that really matters to us right now, especially for case illustration, that we can use, okay? Because all the Burger King and the Asahi and the International Shoe and all that, you're gonna find them in these same cases. The cases that matter to us are the ones in Ohio, all right, and related federal, Ohio federal courts, Sixth Circuit, or Ohio State courts. So we're going to narrow those cases down. So we got 1,000. So we're going to narrow them down, all right, by jurisdiction. Narrow the jurisdiction. All right, so Supreme Court we want. Court of Appeals, we only want the Sixth Circuit, okay. District courts, all right, we only want Ohio, okay. State courts, we only want Ohio. All right, I'd leave the dates alone. All right, let's pull all of them. All right, so it's going to help us narrow down what's citing this statute, and we get in here and we start reading cases. Okay, once we understand the law, now let's see how many did we actually narrow it down to. All right, we got it down from, is it 1,014? 1,014. Let's see. We got a few, yeah. All right. Let's say, how do we want to sort? Newest first is a good way to do it. Another way to do it, folks, when we're looking at cases, okay. Another way to do it. There's a little federal system. Is these head notes, okay. So let's look. Let's come back up to the head. And the head notes work like this, by the way, if we have any in this case. We actually don't, do we? All right, it's so new that an attorney hasn't come in here and actually written head notes on it. So let's scroll down. We get we have a flag in this one, don't we? Yeah, that's worth looking at. Okay. So let's click on this one. All right, Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. All right, we're always going to have head notes when we have Court of Appeals cases. All right, so check it out. Click on the head note, open a new tab. All right, head note 1. We want to play around with head note 1. All right. And we're going to go into the citing references. So these are the cases. Look, here are the filings. So you're going to find where attorneys, let's just open a new window real quick. You're going to find where attorneys filed briefs in this case explaining the law that you're looking for. Look, you can get in there and see them explaining the law in these briefs. Okay, motions to dismiss. That's probably a motion to dismiss for lack of personal jurisdiction. Okay, so you really got to get in here and look. All right, so citing references, secondary sources. All right, so far no cases have actually cited this one yet. Let's look at the West head notes. All right, so we're not going to be able to search the way I want to because this case is so new. All right, did we close that other window? Yes, we did. Okay. Okay, so let's go back. Hitting back is very important for us. Okay, and let's go with, set it by newest first. Let's go with court level. That's going to pull up U.S. and then probably Sixth Circuit. All right, and let's go with 2014 Federal Appendix. Here we go, that's 2012, that's going to be cited. Alright, this is how we follow the trail, folks. Follow the trail. Okay. Citing references. There. So we read this case, and we got to know, what do other cases say about this case? So guess what? We're going to go into those cases. So open a new tab, citing references. So these are the cases that cite that case, and some of them are going to talk about it a lot, and some of them are going to talk about it a little, and we'll be able to tell over here. Let's go ahead and X out our secondary sources because we're not in there anymore. We're doing cases now. Okay. All right. So check it out. This is telling you the depth of treatment. All right. That this particular case gives this case, this one we're looking at, the depth of treatment. So it doesn't just mention it as a C also. Okay. It gives it a lot of depth. And these are the particular, this is very helpful, folks, the particular head notes. And you scroll over, it'll tell you the head notes that are going to match in this case with this case. Okay, so we can determine how relevant it is and how much it talks about this case. So we especially if we have some sort of yellow or red flag, we've got to go into the citing references. All right, now let's look and see. You can sort it by the depth of treatment, how recent it is, and what court level it is. Okay, so lots of different. So if we went to the depth to where it was like barely talked about the case, didn't even talk about it, maybe just cited it, it's going to give us that first. Okay. My internet's slower than I would care for it to be. All right, here we go. So Barrows versus Beck, see the depth. It talks about these two footnotes, okay? And you can actually see down here, it just mentions it in a string site. All right, now let's go back to where we were. Because back is like the third most important research tool, okay? Back to where we were. So we're back to starting with the highest depth first, okay? No, it didn't. Let's just do it this way. Highest first. Change for us. Now here's what this Westlaw makes it really easy to do this when you want to see what cases had to say about cases, and you got to do that. You got to go see what cases had to say about cases. Look how much depth. Look how much depth. Okay, especially if it's a case that really deals with your issue. Okay, if it's just your issue is like a really small one, maybe not. But you got to do it, especially if you're going to rely on that case for anything. You got to go look and see what cases say about that case. All right, so we went into where this case talks about that case, and it'll have it highlighted for us. There it is. All right, so that's black letter. It's motion to dismiss stuff, black letter. Anywhere else? Okay, specific jurisdiction. It uses that case. It's still all black letter. Hey, check it out. Ooh, I like that. Let me save that to my. Maybe that comes under, I don't know, I'm just going to put under Awesome versus Sauce, okay? Yeah, so I saved that language, and maybe I really like this case. I'm going to put it under Awesome versus Sauce too, okay? Make some notes and highlight some stuff, like myself, like, hey, this is minimum context, or specific jurisdiction. Maybe I made that pink, okay? Good stuff, yo. Okay, yo. All right, save. Boom. Okay, so I'm getting into where we're talking about this case. And here's what needs to happen, folks. All right, so we're going to go back. Here's what needs to happen. I probably don't have to refresh. I think they've changed it. You need to, when you start looking at cases, citing cases, so you can start with the keynote type search like we talked about, which is broad. Also secondary sources. Okay, that's how I prefer secondary sources in Ohio. But there's also federal secondary sources you can look at. Okay, but I'm showing you my strategy here. All right, and then you're going to go statute, and then you're going to get into the cases, talking about the statute and talking about due process, all that kind of good stuff. All right, then you're going to look at the cases, talking about the cases. The cases, talking about the cases, and you had better start seeing, by the end, after your 30 hours or so of research, a whole lot of glasses. All right, that means when you start scrolling through, it means you have read, sifted, filtered, you have pulled any gems out of this sand, okay, that we're in here. And if you haven't, you don't see glasses, open a new tab. Here we go, babe. All right, or you can actually go in there and just hit next button. Okay, but this is what you got to get, glasses, and it also shows you it's in the folder and that you've made some notes about it, and apparently it's recent. Okay, now one thing that I want to show you, and let me make sure I'm not leaving out anything that I made in my notes on my other computer here. Oh, oh yeah, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so you know when you're done, based on, I can't see my little head in here. You know when you're done, really, based on, you've got a full understanding of the law and you start seeing those glasses, okay, everywhere. You've seen glasses after glasses, and I'm talking cases. Not just, there's a few secondary sources you'll take a look at, but then you're getting into cases, okay? You got the statute, obviously, and then cases, then the other statutes, maybe something constitutional, that sort of thing. But after that, it's cases, cases, cases. Okay, and that's how you really know when you're done. There's another really interesting resource. Maybe it might be the fourth most useful litigation resource. It's called Google. Okay, so check this out. Ohio long arm statute. Huh. I Google it. Now, obviously, you never cite or rely on Google, but I can go in here and get the code, right, for personal jurisdiction usually, and I bring it back over here. Okay, now I'm not about to go double checking it on stuff, but that's what I do. I used to do that all the time when I have to update minimum wage laws. I had clients who 50 state operations, and different states have different minimum wages, and I would go Maryland minimum wage on Google, and then I go find it on Westlaw. Okay, now let's look at terms and connectors. Okay, terms and connectors to me is extremely important. All right, but it takes some practice, it takes some time, and you got to play around with it. Okay, there is this advanced feature which is supposed to supplement. Okay, it's supposed to supplement terms and connectors. I don't have any faith in it. The one I've used my own terms and connectors and found things that should have shown here, and it will put it in here in Boolean logic for you. So all of these terms, I want jurisdiction. All right, and the next thing it should put is jurisdiction and motion. All right, yeah. So I want jurisdiction and motion. All right, and the next I also want dismiss. Now it's going to add and dismiss. Okay, so you learn how to do that yourself. And there are other things that don't show up in here, and I just don't trust it, folks. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. But it's better than nothing. All right. Here is an incomplete list. Now think about this. Think about this incomplete list of terms and connectors. But think about all the ways you could use these. You need to spend some time with this. Okay. For example, all right. Let's say that I want to find cases. Let's say that I want to find cases that absolutely deal with negligence in Alabama. They deal with negligence. I want Alabama. I don't want related federal. See, let me slow down and go back. Okay, so you click on here. All right, this is just where you haven't decided what you're going to search. You start clicking stuff down here, it's going to take you different places. You've decided what you want to search. You could also go to state materials and go to Alabama and go to cases, but this is easier. All right, so you can click if you want some 11th Circuit stuff. You can have that, or you do by default include related federal. That'd be like, you know, Hugo Black down the road. All right, let's just say I just want straight Alabama. Say I'm Alabama trial court, and my judge is stubborn and doesn't carry them out federal court. So I want Alabama. I'm searching only Alabama cases, okay? And I want cases that say negligence. So I'm going to put where there's a lawsuit for negligence, okay? Now, using terms and connectors, think about all the ways. Negligent, negligently. And think, oh, there's also misspelled, but what about negligence? All these different ways that negligence might pop up, and you want to be precise. So check it out. If you learn your terms and connectors, that root expander right there, boom, negligent, and it's going to catch anything that follows that. Okay, let's go ahead and search, and you got to go over here and play with it. See, where's the root expander? There it is. Boom. Okay, and I want negligence within, I want it within 10 terms of affirmative defense. So plus 10. All right, and then I got to do my little parentheses here. Affirmative defense. All right, that's probably going to be pretty narrow. I might not get anything, but all right. So what I'm saying is I want negligence, negligently, negligent, all that within 10 terms of affirmative defense in the state of Alabama. Case law. Let's see what we get. Should be pretty narrow, if any, I would think. Maybe not. Maybe not. There might be some 91 cases. Okay, and then we come down. We start narrowing it. All right. But do you see how helpful the terms and connectors would be there? Okay. It will help me find. It helps me narrow, but it also helps me find a very, very specific types of cases. Like if I'm dealing with a wild monkey, all right, and I say the case has to have a monkey and battery, all right, it has to have that, and I know how to use my terms and connectors. Let's look. Let's just do it. All states, all federal. Okay. Let's see if there's any case where we know there's a monkey involved in a battery claim. Monkey. It's got to have the word monkey, and there's lots of ways you could do that. So you could also do this. And monkey and battery. Now, it could be a car battery. So you could also go in here and do but not car. Okay, folks? You see how learning this, all right? It takes practice, okay? Monkey and battery, and to make sure we're in civil, some sort of civil case, I'm going to put damages. All right. All cases that are on Westlaw that have monkey and battery and damages. If it doesn't have all three of those, it won't pop. Let's see how many. 25. All right, there are 25, and so we can scroll through. We can narrow, or we can look at all 25. Okay, so I'm not giving a full-on terms and connectors class. What I'm telling you is look at this. Pay attention. In the same sentences, one of the I use very often, or, right, is one. How about motion to dismiss, or now let's try a different. What about specific jurisdiction in quotation marks, or general jurisdiction, or minimum contact, that kind of thing. All the different uses of or, and helps you really narrow. The root expander helps you with different ways to spell words, but not helps you narrow things down. Okay, the universal character is when there might be typos or courts spell things differently. Like, for example, I think this would be a use for it. So long arm, meaning that there could be a hyphen there or not. I think it would work that way. All right, you have to play with it. But listen, you live in the world of YouTube, okay? So you can get on YouTube and learn how to do this. Terms and connectors is a huge part of research. It is a sniper rifle as opposed to a shotgun. But you got to start with a shotgun if you don't know the law. All right, if you know the law, then you don't have to start with a shotgun. All right, so now that we've done all that, let me make sure I've told you everything I absolutely want to tell you. Now I'm going to give you a cheat. Okay, I'm going to give you a cheat. Usually I do it live. Should we do it live? Let's do it. Let's do it live. See how it works. All right, we're going to my cell phone, and look. All right, this is kind of like, anybody ever play Mario 3? You hide behind certain areas that are secrets, and you get secret warps and whistles that take you to fun places. This is what I'm going to show you, okay? But you need to know how to do all the stuff that we've been through, or at least a lot of it, okay? At least a lot of it. And you're going to learn it by doing it, folks. You're going to learn it by doing it. It's not something that I'm just going to say and you're going to get and just absorb. You're going to do it, and you're going to mess around with it, and you're going to get your own system, all right? Now, let's talk about the Mario 3 trick. Look at this. Look at this. All right, so Westlaw may or may not have a vested interest in you really liking them and wanting to pay money for their services, you know, maybe after law school. So they give you access to all kinds of stuff that would be expensive when you get out, unless you're, well, it's expensive no matter what. I guess they rate it on your small firm. If you're a small firm, it can be a little less. But the reference attorney, you know, people are sitting around waiting. They're sitting around waiting for you to call them and ask them about how to find a case or find some law. Okay, so let's do it. We're going to call them. All right, hopefully this number works. All right, we're going to call them, put them on speaker, call in the reference attorney. Okay, and we get them to email us.
Thank you for calling the Thomson Reuters reference attorneys. With the of these can I help you with? You can say research assistance, technical support, customer service, or purchase a product.
Research assistance.
Please enter or say your 10-digit phone number. Thank you. Please hold while your call is transferred. For quality purposes, your call may be monitored or recorded. Thank you for calling. All of our representatives are assisting other callers. Rather than wait on hold, we can call you back when it's your turn.
That's very
between
convenient.
12 and 18 minutes from now.
12
you will
and
not
18
lose your
minutes.
place in line if you choose to use this service. To receive.
Yeah, no, we're not going to wait 12 to 18 minutes. But listen, here's how it works, okay? You call them. I very rarely do you have to wait that long. I guess because it's towards the end of the week and people want to have Friday off, so they're all calling. But you call them, you tell them, and you work with them on the phone, and they will work with you. Some are more interested in helping you than others, okay? And then, in which case, you just hang up and call back and get a different one, all right? Kind of like when I deal with Charter or something. But they will help you find cases. All right? And they will email you their crazy, complicated Goodwill Hunting math equation type Boolean logic search, and you will learn from them how to do that stuff too, okay? So that is a lot of information, I know. It is an absolute crash course, and it's a lot to absorb. I get it. Just remember, the big picture is you got to know what court you're in. You got to know your facts. You got to have a strategy and be organized, okay? And my strategy would be to start with secondary sources. In Ohio, go with the statute, branch out to cases. And I know when I'm done, when I see those glasses popping all over the place, and I understand the law, I feel like I have a good understanding of the law. I've sifted through all those cases. The same rules keep coming up over and over again. And then I'm probably going in a little more scalpel. I might even go outside Ohio. I might even go outside the Sixth Circuit to try to find a case or two or three that are very similar to mine, okay, that come out the way, well, this is objective, so that come out whichever way. But that would come in your rule illustrations. Your rule illustrations do not need to be Asahi Motors. Do not use Asahi or Burger King or International. Those need to be very specific. And that's where you get terms of connectors, or, hey, you could call the Westlaw reference attorney, okay? But you need to know how to do this stuff. All right? And I can tell you, and I'll be quiet after this and let you go, I can tell you that I ended up working for a top 100 NALP firm that didn't hire out of law school, and and they hired me not based on law school performance, but based on, I took a deposition and the guy, liked what I did and hired me, and he hired another Cumberland grad. Well, I learned all this stuff, okay, all the terms and connectors and all that, and the other Cumberland grad did not, and the difference was many hours all the time, okay, because I learned how to do the research. I could go find a case quick, as opposed to staying up till 1 in the morning. Sometimes you do that looking for that perfect case. Most of the time they don't exist. But okay, so good luck to you with your research. That is going to be the end for me for now. I'm signing off, and I will talk to you next week.